This is in response. This is November 11th, about 5 p.m., and this is a response to the ongoing situation. And I think you'll find, if you listen to this all to the end, that there's maybe a new perspective here that we might help things out. But we'll just see. You sent me an email after the eviction notice saying that Andy Maxim House wants me to leave, and offering perhaps some incentive, financial incentive, and some time leeway. And so I think first of all is to realize that I've gotten that and have thought this over. And here's something that to think about, and to think it over and see what you think, because I think it's important at this point. Maybe we could get a little perspective on the situation. Anyway, I do want to start out with some things that you're not going to like, but I think we need to. I think you need to know what I'm thinking about, because nobody's ever sat down with me to actually know this. So you've got a lot of things that you have in mind, and opinions that you have formed, and emotions that you have established as a result of Christina's reporting to you. And as I indicated to Doug Beacon when he was here, not letting me get into my apartment when I returned home from where I'd been. And of course, I had no obligation to say anybody when I was going to return to my apartment or not. I had indicated in the email very clearly that I was be gone on vacation between 11/3 and 11/29, and the same thing happens with Terry and Gladys, who are gone for a month or so, and nobody is concerned about if they return home a few days earlier. And I know this is ridiculous. And also that I have to have your permission, the board's permission, to give somebody else okay to go into my apartment when they want. I mean, it's just not legal according to Massachusetts real estate law. So I think you need to realize these things, that I know these things, and we need to conduct things in a legal manner, first of all, and then we should be compassionate and understanding. But anyway, going forward, I'm just going to start with a little bit of history. That Christina has come into my apartment 22 times previously to the last few, and to tell me to behave myself because somebody said something, and realize that she was never present at any of those things, not even one. And when she came into my apartment to lambaste me, literally lambaste me, at least 50% of the time, to the extent that if I said anything, just like Sergeant Peterson was lambasting me, if I'd said anything, he would have gone off the rocker more than he was, and Christina the same way. And people know this about Christina, that she comes to basically vent on somebody and realize that she's never been present at any one of those times, and never asked me, when she's come, one question about what I actually said, what I actually did, or anything, any questions at all. And yes, I did say things, no, that wasn't true, but she never asked me, stop to think, and she left with the same impression of when she came in, that I was at fault. And of course, this got reported to the board, however many times they got it. And also during those 22 times, she threatened me with eviction 5. Now, that's how I've been treated here. And at one point, like a few times ago, I said, look, Christina, you're not gathering information. I said, would you please, when you come to my apartment, would you please gather some information, because she was so emotionally aroused, she's basically an emotional chameleon, and her mind is closed to gathering any information. Once you establish an emotional opinion, like many of you have about me, and many of the residents have, and nobody's ever come to me and asked me any questions about my point of view. Do you understand this? Nobody in the 10 years I have been here has ever asked me one question about what did you say, what did you do, how did you feel, what did you mean. Everybody's concerned about all these residents, about how they feel, but nobody ever expressed any opinion or concern about how I felt. It's all about what Christina feels, which is, which reflects her emotional arousal, but not what happened with the other resident, and she has nothing to say to me. So so she agreed going forward she would gather information. Now, why would an executive director have to be asked to gather information and then say, okay, I will? If she had been, she would have said something like, well, I have been, what are you talking about? So no, but she said, okay, I will. So this is kind of a tacit thing that's going on here. And so this is very damaging to the relationship with her and other residents here, because she's treated other residents the same way. And of course, since then, 3 times have it happened at least that she has done the same thing as before, not asked me, not anything, and she has not done this. Now, I told Doug Beacon when he was here, and when stopping me from entering my apartment, and we had a little discussion there, friendly discussion, and I told him these things, and he ignored it, and he said, you should have let us know you were going to come back, then. And I said, I don't know why I should do that. I mean, I was told I was on vacation, and whether I come into the apartment on Tuesday and leave on Wednesday, I'm on vacation. I said I would. I said how to get in touch with me, which he said, why didn't you give us a way to get in touch with you? And I said, twice in email, I explained it in great detail, the best way for anybody. Even this attorney, he phoned me, and of course I didn't get it because he phoned a message, and I said, but when he sent me an email, okay, I got it. So you understand? I'm not singling you guys out. I'm telling everybody, and everybody knows this. In my friends around the country, or around the world, they send me an email. See, that's the way to get a hold of me. I have all the information there. It's permanent. I take care of it as I do. I've said all this. And so when Rowdy, director, had me read this letter of eviction, which was obviously a technicality. When I was a landlord, I never had to do that. I just gave them a letter and left it off with them and left. I mean, there was why is this pseudo documentation here, which is totally unnecessary. And so and he ignored those things too. So you see, how can you? And so Beacon said that when I mentioned that nobody has ever visited me in the 10 years I've been here, and the 33 years that Annette had been here, that nobody had stopped by and look. And so just to chat, just to find out who's there. And Beacon said, well, that's not that's not what we're supposed to be doing here. We're supposed to do the books and the maintenance and take care of these odds and ends and see that things go smoothly here, with the residents and everything. Well, see, he just said what I was saying. If you're going to, here you are, a board, and you only got 13 people here, what I'm saying, and 12 previous to that, Rick and Betty, and and you're trying to do things here to make things better, and us, and you don't even know us. You understand how odd that is? How you can go along thinking that you're so important and so well-informed and taking such a good care of the situation, you're not paying attention that the executive director is misreporting people here, not just me, but a couple other people, and they're getting threatened with eviction. I mean, and you guys are clueless? I mean, what's going on with the board? What's going on with a board it's such an intimate connection here, very small town, Rochester area, and you have never stopped by in 33 years to visit and just to find out, just to check in even once, just to say hi. And so I told Christina at one point, you don't know me. She said, yes, I do. I mean, how ridiculous is that? She's never stopped in either. Yeah, to lambaste me, but just because she's familiar with lambasting me doesn't mean she's known me. She should know her emotional reaction to other residents being upset, but she doesn't know me. I mean, if she can name one thing about me and say this is something important to Sean, and here's why it is, and here how he involves his energy in his life here, and carry on for like 5 minutes as a compare and contrast situation. She can't do that. And so, now the board is giving an eviction notice to me, which has no bearing on anything that I did. See, the board doesn't have a clue what I did. Everything that they think that I did came from Christina, and she never asked me what I did. She's only reported what another resident's impression of the situation was to her, and she's reported her impression of that to the board, as though she had enough information to say anything. She wasn't present at anything of these, you see, and she never asked me anything about it. So what kind of information does the board have about me, or Christina have about me? It's all a bunch of hearsay, because nobody's ever talked to me, even to this day, to this date, November 11th, 5:20 p.m., 2019. Nobody yet, even though I filed an affidavit for this application for temporary restraint. Of course I am. I mean, you guys, even in your letter of termination of residency, it's clear you don't have a clue about the person you're trying to terminate, and you all these things that you say in there aren't true because they come from Christina. They're just one-sided. Nobody asked for me. Nobody has asked me about it. Why wouldn't the board, if it's considering such a serious thing? You can see my circumstances in the affidavit, which even not in there is the hernia that I'm presently nursing along until I can get surgery on it, on top of all that. And it's very difficult for me to walk for any length of time. And so you see, the board, they're saying these things, but they haven't got a clue. They personally haven't got a clue. They've never heard one single thing from me. They've all heard everything they have is from Christina, who's never been present at what she's reporting about, and she's never visited with me about those things. Yes, to lambaste me from what her impression of what some other resident or staff had in their mind. So it's kind of hearsay of hearsay, and coming to me, telling me to behave myself on hearsay of hearsay, and going to the board and reporting her one-sided hearsay as though it's official and true, and the board thinks it is. Well, that's because Christina is very believable, and all of us here, we know that. But we don't feel that she's very competent or anything, and would like her removed, in fact. And I'll go on to that in various reasons, exactly why. But you see, here it is. See, this complete disjunct is here the landlord is being informed, so to pseudo-informed by an executive director about various things that have occurred, in which she has not ever been present even one time, and she's never sat down with that resident and asked, what went on? You see? What is your point of view? What did you actually say? What did you actually do? She's never done such. And this thing about ignoring the rules that's in the letter of eviction, you got to realize that anything I do here has nothing derogatory or damaging to any Maxim house. And if you see a rule, according in your mind, seeing broken, why don't instead you say, what is Sean trying to do here? And we can help him out. I mean, isn't that the function here? To help residents and help them out. And so if a rule is being broken, maybe he doesn't thinking of the rule. Maybe he's thinking about how to do something to accomplish that he needs to in his life right then. So why doesn't a staff, instead of saying, hey, he's breaking a rule, which they do, say, is there something I can do to help you out? See? Same way with two other residents, and they did something in order to help themselves. They were very in immediate need of doing what they needed to accomplish, and they, from the staff that was watching this, all the staff could think of, even though they were in a hurry and clearly in a state of need, all they could think of was there's a rule being broken there. Okay, there was no safety issue. Okay, nobody was in danger. It was just a rule being broken. Okay, and instead of going to that tenant and saying, geez, you look like you're in need, you're rushing and you look like you're in trouble or something, can I help you out? No. Rules rule here. And that's what so many residents are so ticked off about Christina and her rule and the reporting that's going on around here. You understand? Check it out. Why doesn't somebody check it out? See? Why doesn't somebody come and ask me questions? Why? I mean, all the signs and signals I've done that aren't derogatory at all. Even this, what I'm saying, is not derogatory. I'm describing facts, contrary to Christina's opinions. She's got no facts. If you look at facts, they're just generalities, casting aspersions, and that kind of thing. I'm telling you now facts. Okay, these are not my opinions. These are facts. The fact is, the board has never sat with anybody here, and fact is, they said this. The fact is, okay. This emotional chameleon, which kind of describes Christina, and let me interject here something that you may not know about, whoever's listening, but you can check this out with. There are certain individuals who need therapy, right? And there are certain ones that require two therapists, two psychiatrists. Counselors won't be able to do this. But the administering, or let's say the treating physician, talks with this patient, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then they come out, and the overseeing physician then reestablishes the normal reality with that treating physician. Because what happens with the treating physician when he talks with this type of individual who's very engaging and everything like this, is this patient actually creates an altered reality that the treating physician can't stop from happening to him. You understand how serious this is? That they have to come out and be debriefed, and the normal reality established with the treating physician. I'm just referring to it. I just refer it as sliming. Okay, in other words, when somebody, when this engaging individual they sound normal. Even a psychiatrist who knows what's going on, knows the conditions, can't stop this alternate reality being created in his perceptive capabilities. This is just look it up. Okay, I learned about this from my family, where my aunt was a child psychologist and very well trained and everything, and my sister a clinical psychologist, et cetera, et cetera. So just stories we exchanged over half a century with my aunt. Many cases, no names, many cases, of course, and also with my sister. And so I know about this, and so I know that Christina is exhibiting these things because everybody who gets in touch with her, comes in contact with her, thinks she's so engaging, and nobody will believe what's happening to me. See, and Richard, who's a friend of mine, he thought that I was exaggerating, et cetera, until it started happening to him. You see, a person like this who's so engaging, they have you don't realize it, and they sound very nice and everything, and until they start targeting you with certain kinds of actions, because these people, their actions are not what their words say. And that's why something like this, where if somebody were to just talk to Christina, just some psychiatrist would go in and examine her, they wouldn't know, they would not be able to perceive what was happening. See, if they're given a forewarning, so they don't come in unaware, and they realize that Christina's actions have to be compared with her words, her attitudes, and everything, which are perfectly normal words. And her attitude, she seems very sincere, and she believes herself. See, she doesn't realize what the damage she's creating, that her actions are very destructive. And just what I think is that Christina is according to the international criteria, is that she's a good candidate for borderline personality disorder. And very much like Typhoid Mary was, if you know that history of that thing that happened with Typhoid Mary, infected many people who came in contact with her. This situation with Christina is very similar, except it's a psychological creation of you could think of it as a contagious, emotional, mental circumstances where people don't realize that she has created an alternate reality as regards her, and she's just kind of passed it along to people who come. And that's why everybody thinks that she's great and all that, until she targets you, as you want to say, and she does actions that involve you in a very important way, and they're just not right, like this, not realizing she's not getting the information, and she's giving one-sided hearsay to the board, and she's threatening to evict me when there's obviously nobody, Richard says, and now it's happening to him, and she's trying to get information through the staff here about us and our whereabouts and all that stuff, and that's what she's been doing. That's not a conspiracy theory such at all. That's just an accurate description of the physical motions and verbal acknowledgement of various things that the staff has told me, and as they've reported, as they well know, and we all know these things to Christina, and the question is why? And it's like they, as they say, you can perfume the scorpion, but you'll feel the sting in the end. Or, better a demon who makes you improve than the honeyed words of a threatening angel. And that's what's going on here. It's just typhoid Mary all over again. This contagious psychological unreality, alternate reality, and that is really the keystone of this whole situation. Is that it really is deriving from the disorder, psychological or psychiatric disorder that Christina is exhibiting. I see. And you won't be able to see that until you investigate the actions that are happening with the residents here. See, us residents here, we know that everybody believes them. We know that Sergeant Peterson believes her. We know that the board believes her. We know that the staff believes her. But you see, they do know. The staff does know that she has threatened them with her paranoia. The same way with her trying to find out where people are here and why. Nobody here is doing anything that they should be being reported on. But Christina has exhibited extreme sensitivity to things and exhibited paranoia, as some of us know. So that's why we haven't spoken up and didn't want to, because we realize that the staff chose her and believes her, and they're not going to believe us. But now the situation has come. I have been documenting Christina in writing and in my video blurbs like this for some years now. But I suspected I was going to have to bring this up at some point, but I didn't know when. But now Christina and the board have exacerbated the situation, and I have to at this point, just for self-protection. And at this point, I have to call out Christina for what she is, and you can get some objective psychiatric appraisal of this to examine her and her actions, to get some reality, some actual objective reality, normal reality into the situation, because the board is running blind here. They have never sat down with me, and they think they believe somebody like that. And you've got to realize, if this goes to court, this recording will be entered into court, and it's just, I just don't think that it should go there. I don't see it's going to be productive. I think it will create very damaging, permanent relationships. As I say, I don't want to be here, and I'm going to go into that later. And I don't think I should be here for reasons that I'll state later you may not realize. For myself, having been a landlord and had to deal with evicting a couple of tenants, so when I knew a tenant would lie and all that, I wouldn't offer them any money or get them out quicker or anything. If I didn't want them there, I would just, they wouldn't leave. I'd give them 30 days notice. They wouldn't leave. I'd go to court. That was the fastest way to get people out who don't want to go. But obviously, if you think you want to offer me money and that kind of stuff, which isn't necessary, really, it would be really helpful for me if and when I would be able to leave, and I would like to, is that you've got to realize if you have a really good case, what are you worrying about? Just do due process and go through. If you think you can prevail in the court in front of a judge, just do so. What's the big deal? Why do you think you have to offer me money and couch it in such a way that it's, you got to make it scary and look official, and you're clearly obviating due process. You got to see what this is going to look like in court, and you haven't contacted me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this is I'm creating this in such a manner as though I'm talking to the judge as well, and you and Mr. Mont, the attorney who's handling this, not my attorney, but he's handling this for the stay of execution of the whatever. And you see, when you have this altered reality, you cannot perceive what's actually there, because this altered reality is kind of colors what you're seeing. You already have a presumed guilty, and so you can't even listen to what I'm saying, even though it's the correct thing. And if it goes to the court, well, I know what I'm saying is, you look at the judge and you say, is this right? You're going to, yeah, and the judge is going to hear this, and he goes, this guy is telling it like it is. And so nobody who's in such a condition, who's been slimed in this manner, can perceive what needs to be perceived and act appropriately, gather the appropriate observations and make an appropriate assessment, and carry out actions that will in the end be good for themselves and the residents. And see, this is not being done. And this is the example of what happens when you've been slimed and you can't have an objective view of where things are, and why when I say things like this to Doug Beacon, that he can't even handle it, and neither can the director when he's right there. And there's Christina with this, oh, I'm so sad that you got to be evicted. Well, she's probably very happy. Because you see, this is why Christina doesn't talk to me. Even at the dinner table, she was never carried on a conversation with me, because I just don't care to be involve myself in her emotional ups and downs, which she likes to do, I guess. So I would really like to see everybody would like to see the social environment being restored here, but it's not going to be possible with Christina and Lynn here. They're just two of the same color, totally into rules, and not trying to help people out. And instead, they look at things as rules being broken, rather than saying things like that kind of thing. And I do understand the residents here, because they've seen things through the eyes of Christina's reporting, and she's basically sat with them and held their hand and say, yes, Sean's a bad guy, I'll go talk to him, right? So this residual feeling that I'm subjected to for some years now, okay, is as my therapist said, you should charge her, or why don't you think about charging Christina with elderly abuse, okay? And I have looked into that, okay, and that is a clear possibility here. I'm not threatening you. I'm just saying you've got to face reality, guys, of what you're actually doing, what Christina has led you to do through her whatever she's got, this disorder that she cannot see what she should be able to see. And so anyway, the reason I should leave here is because, even when Christina is removed and put in with a healthy executive director, the residents here, they've been slimed, and they have this belief, and they're removing the executive director and Lynn is not going to solve anything for that, because internally they have been created these emotional reactive conclusions that sit there, and now after this amount of time they're pretty much permanent, and they probably can't do much about them. And also for myself, being abused so severely under such stress for so many years now, as I have documented, through recordings just like this. I don't want to be in this environment, and I shouldn't be, for myself and also for residents here, to let the healing take place. But all the residents and the board member kind of need to be debriefed. In other words, have therapists talk with them, psychiatrists talk with them, and to the normal reality. So they're not going to ever feel good about me ever in their lives, but at least they won't, because if you create this kind of thing in yourself and you let it be there, it will color all your activities. You see. And that can be addressed with a therapist, a competent psychiatrist, you see. I know it sounds like a lot of trouble, but, you're not going to get rid of what Christine has done to you. You'll never feel good about me, and I understand that. I know why. You see, but you need to remove the destructive, the virile aspects of this contagious typhonated Trojan horse that you've got, just like a computer virus. If you don't, it's just going to cause you trouble in so many ways. So anyway, so that's why I'm just saying that I think that I hopefully that the attorney, and if you want to share, he wants to share that with the other people. I wouldn't share it with, I don't know, you can do what you want with Christina, but, she's not going to be able to see this. She's going to feel threatened because I've mentioned things before, and she's always feels threatened because with my questions, which are obviously, you can see that I don't matter who authority you are or anything, I'll ask these questions, which needs to be asked. And, anyway, so I guess, let's see. Because the mistreatment was very real. I mean, I know it was conjectures within your head, but the way you treated me was very real, and that's why I'm seeing that this needs to be, you need to deal with this within yourself, because you've been slimed and traumatized by the situation, as I have, but on the receiving end, and nobody has yet sat down, even to this date, ever sat down and asked about any one condition or situation that Christina has reported. She's never been present, and nobody has ever, to this minute, sat down and say, well, what is your point of view regarding this incident? What did you say? What did you do? And so you realize with the wildfire Karen incident that there were only 3 people involved, Karen, myself, and Annette, who were there, and yet none of us have been asked about what went on. Yet this huge wildfire that has just dominated and traumatized and created this bad environment for me and for everybody else because of Christina's mishandling, because she's incapable of handling it. And those of us who realize this, she's incompetent, and we would like her, and they would all like her removed. Not vindictively, but she needs therapy, and if she is in fact borderline personality disorder, this, first of all, she's got to realize that she needs therapy, and then, undergoing therapy and making the changes necessary will take some time. It's not a one-off, a 6-minute or a 6-week deal. And anyway, and so because she's traumatized, everybody's traumatized by her presence here. It was just not, the healing couldn't take place any more than if I were here. And that's why she needs to be removed in so many ways, Now let's see. So I'm offering this bit of insight and encouragement to defuse the situation, because the road ahead of us is going to create permanent damages for everybody. And it's like an avalanche. If we can get out of it before the snow solidifies into concrete, with the comparable consequences, and if we can step back from this virtual reality that's facing us, is very damaging, and if we could change up and kind of choose a different reality that we would like, as I say, I do not like compromises at all. I prefer finding out what you want, finding out what I want, and then trying to give each other what each other wants. So we both walk away with having everything that they want. And I think this is perfectly possible. It's never failed for me to be able to do this in situations, none as grievous as this one. But, it's probably out of your range of conception that such a thing could happen right now. But it could, and it's just up to you. Anyway, so again, anyway, so I'm sending this to the attorney, my attorney, and see what he thinks about sharing it with you guys. But anyway, I guess I put this in conversation so you can hear my voice, and so you can because the written word, a written word is nice, but it doesn't really convey the meaning behind the word and behind the intentions of the person speaking. So I just think there's this might be called a Trojan typhoinated horse. A Trojan typhoinated horse. And virus removal is not easy with these things, and very, very difficult. And I just wish the both of us good luck.